This book is called How to Be Everything, and it is a must-read for anyone who considers themselves a multi-passionate person. If you find yourself drawn to a variety of interests, some interconnected and some seemingly random, and struggle to commit to any single pursuit for an extended period of time, especially when it comes to choosing things like a major or a career, you might just be a multipotentialite. This means that you weren't meant to be a specialist. This book aims to guide you through life with this personality type, helping you to find the best methods to handle your many interests and even empower them. This is a great read in general, but especially if you are new and just discovering you are a multi-passionate person, this is a really great place to start. It's a concise and easy to read book filled with advice, life hacks, personal anecdotes, and work models. It will get you hooked and inspired from the very first chapter. So next time you're at a bookstore or browsing online, please pick up a copy of this book. It is worth it, trust me. So in this video, I'm going to go through the main points in the book and share some of my thoughts and experiences. The book is divided into 3 parts. Part 1 is an introduction to the multi-potentialite personality type and their role in society. Part 2 is all about the different work models that you can adopt if you do have this personality type. And part 3 is all about overcoming common challenges, and it's full of helpful advice for people that are trying to navigate their lives. The book begins with the first chapter, which is titled "Nothing is Wrong with You." It's a reassuring sentiment for those of us who grew up thinking that we wouldn't be successful unless we specialized in one thing and climbed that ladder of expertise our entire lives. It addresses our natural resistance to this notion because the idea of doing just one thing forever is unbearable for us. So the whole concept of multipotentialites is introduced. Multipotentialites are people with diverse interests and skills who resist choosing a single career path or pursuit. The author shares personal experiences and highlights the societal pressure to specialize. The chapter emphasizes that multipotentialites are valuable because they can apply their many skills across various different fields, showcasing the strength of having a diverse set of interests. Then the book goes on to explore the societal perceptions of multipotentialites, who are often negatively labeled as like a jack of all trades, master of none, or a dilettante. The belief that only specialists excel is challenged, and it's argued that creativity and passion are equally important. The book then explains 5 main superpowers that any multipotentialite has. First is idea synthesis. This is the idea that multipotentialites are really great at combining concepts from various different fields to create new and innovative solutions that specialists might not have considered. Their diverse perspectives enable them to approach problems from multiple angles. The second is rapid learning. Due to their passion and creativity, multipotentialites quickly grasp new concepts. So they are really great at transferring knowledge from one domain to another, making it easier for them to learn new things. Number 3 is adaptability. Multipotentialites thrive in diverse settings and roles, drawing on their varied experiences and skills to handle new challenges effortlessly, or at least with minor complications. The 4th one is big picture thinking. They possess a broad perspective that allows them to see connections between different ideas and understand more systemic issues. This view enables them to devise compassionate and informed solutions that specialists might have otherwise overlooked. And the last is relating and translating. The author argues that multipotentialites are great at connecting with others. Their intense curiosity and empathetic nature make them effective communicators and listeners. I think it goes without saying, though, that if you are multipotentialite, it doesn't mean that you have all of these superpowers ready to go. I personally feel like not all of them apply to me either, or maybe some of them aren't as strong as others, and that's totally fine. The author does make efforts to mention that multipotentialites are not more valuable than specialists. They're mostly just trying to make the point that we are undervalued compared to specialists. So most likely if you are reading this book or watching this video, you consider yourself a multipotentialite, but something about your life is unsatisfying. And maybe you're ready to change things so that your multipotentialite personality is given more attention. The book outlines 3 essential elements to consider when it does come to your lifestyle or your life design. First is money. Everybody needs to eat, needs to pay rent or mortgage. We have basic needs. So the book does acknowledge that everyone has their own distinct financial goals and standards. So it's up to the individual to determine the amount of money that is necessary for you to live, while also acknowledging that your most basic needs need to be met first. Number 2 is meaning. The need to engage in activities that hold personal significance is really important for multipotentiality, and the identification of such meaningful activities involves figuring out your why. Your why is the driving force or forces that motivate and resonate with you. So reflecting on past pursuits that brought a sense of meaning can help you to uncover what your why is. And the last is variety. So multipotentialites inherently crave variety in their lives. So if you don't have enough variety in your life, it can lead to boredom and frustration, whereas excessive variety can result in feeling overwhelmed. I just put out a video where I explained how this happened to me exactly. I put way too much variety, way too much stuff into my life, and I got burnt out pretty fast. It happens. So the optimal level of variety involves switching between different skills and projects at a frequency that feels right for you. So the book encourages you to define the big picture. And so having a comprehensive approach to a lifestyle, a life design, aligns with the multipotentialite philosophy, acknowledging the importance of personal happiness, meaningful pursuits, in a balanced variety of activities. So part 2 of this book is my favorite. It goes into detail on 4 work models that a multipotentialite could adopt. So for each model, I will define exactly what it is, who it is suggested for, and then go into a little bit more detail on exactly what it entails. So the first one is called the group hug approach. The group hug approach is having one multifaceted job or business that allows you to wear many hats and shift between different domains at work. So it's ideal for individuals who love multi-dimensional projects, want variety in their job, feel overwhelmed by having too many disconnected projects at once, and seek some kind of synchronicity in their work. So the author suggests finding an interdisciplinary field. So that is basically a field that is multifaceted in nature, like architecture, AI, and my favorite, which is video game design. This made me think of that one guy who created Stardew Valley. So to create a video game like that, not only do you have to be good at coding, programming, graphic design, but also you have to be good at storytelling, right? So if you can find a field that has this kind of interdisciplinary nature, it might be able to satisfy your multi-passionate needs. The next approach is called the slash approach. The slash approach is also known as a portfolio career, and it involves having 2 or more part-time jobs and or businesses that you switch between regularly. So it's ideal for those who enjoy frequently alternating between different subjects, those who are fascinated by specialized or niche topics, but do not necessarily want to combine all their passions into one career, and those who value freedom and flexibility over stability. So the concept is you are a tour guide slash substitute teacher slash doing data entry at night. You get the idea. It typically involves working more than 2 part-time jobs or work projects that provide different levels of income and fulfillment on whatever your terms are. One key thing to note though is that a multipotentialite might be doing the slash career by choice. This is not trying to glamorize working multiple part-time jobs. Of course, some people really need to work multiple jobs out of necessity, but a multipotentialite slash careerist chooses this path for the variety that it offers. So this is my personal favorite because it's the one that I'm doing. If you're interested in what my life looks like as a multipotentialite with the slash career approach, check out my week in a life video. But basically, I have multiple part-time jobs and I do freelance work, and I do it because I get to have a different schedule every day. I get to control my schedule, and it is not super stable, to be honest. But yeah, like the book says, I value flexibility over stability at this time in my life. The next one is called the Einstein Approach. The Einstein Approach involves having one full-time job or business that fully supports you while leaving enough time and energy to pursue your other passions on the side. It's ideal for individuals who value stability, enjoy their paid work without it being their sole focus, and find joy in hobbies and prefer to pursue passions that may not be highly lucrative. It was named after Albert Einstein, who worked as a patent officer while producing significant scientific work like his theory of relativity. Einstein referred to these pursuits as personal projects, and they were enabled by the stability and slow pace of his job. There are a lot of benefits to this work model. First, it provides financial security, and it allows you the freedom to explore various interests without monetary pressure. It enables you to jump between different fields and projects, adding or dropping your pursuits as you desire. And I feel like it would really appeal to those who value workplace structure, routine, and the camaraderie that comes with having coworkers. Even so, a good enough job should have three main things. First, it needs to be enjoyable, challenging, and fun to some extent to satisfy your multipotentialite nature. Second, it needs to offer a high enough salary to meet your financial goals, to support your basic needs. And third, it needs to leave sufficient time and energy for other interests. I keep putting this emphasis on energy because I think it's really important. Many jobs drain a lot of energy. So while you could have a good enough job, like being a teacher or being a nurse, you might be too tired after work to really do anything that you want to do. And it might lead you to doing more things like scrolling on your phone, watching too much TV, etc. So I really think that a good enough job has to leave you enough energy to do the things that you really want to do outside of work. And again, the book gives you some exercises to try to figure out what your good enough job might be. But the most important thing is just trying to get a good idea of what your schedule will be like. You need to consider how you would balance your work with your passion projects. And last is the Phoenix Approach. The Phoenix Approach involves working in a single industry for several months or even years before shifting gears and starting a new career in a different industry. So it's ideal for individuals who become deeply invested in subjects for extended periods. They feel the need to move on after a while, enjoy deep dives into topics, and do not require constant variety in their daily activities. The Phoenix metaphor represents multipotentialites who dive deep into a subject, then let it fizzle out and die before arising new in a different field. It's suited for those who like to go deep into subjects and can sustain that interest for extended periods of time. Being able to start a new career really needs to rely on you being able to use your past skills and experiences to transition into these new areas. And so these people that are embodying the Phoenix Approach, they are driven by a strong why that motivates these career changes. I do really like one of the things that's mentioned in this approach. It's called the loathing scale. It measures your dissatisfaction with a pursuit from 1 to 10. 1 being everything is great, and 10 being you will die if you have to go through another day in this pursuit. And so, of course, your happy place is going to be probably 1 to 4. And then the author suggests that if you do reach the 5 to 8 range, you should start easing into the next transition. Because once you get to 9 to 10, you're going to be so burnt out, you might just make some really rash decisions. And like the other approaches, there are some exercises that you can do to explore new options, and they could be really helpful for you. Okay, so my original part 3 footage is gone. And it's kind of a bummer because part 3 is one of the most important parts, since it is where you get some real advice and strategies on navigating life as a multipotentialite. If you really want to get the full details on it, get the book and check it out for yourself. I'm also going to be making some videos about the different strategies that I use, a lot of them coming from advice from this book. that I use to help with my productivity, my self-discipline. So of course, subscribe to me if you're interested in seeing more of that. But first up, one of the biggest obstacles that a lot of multipotentialites face has to do with productivity. Multipotentialites have pretty unique productivity needs. A lot of us need flexibility and agency to move our projects forward and get over those like creative, emotional, and logistical roadblocks. A lot of traditional productivity advice relies on really rigid systems which don't suit a multipotentialite's need for variety. Like for example, a lot of advice will tell you that if you're working on a project, just get to the end before you start something new. Obviously, that's not going to work for a multipotentialite because when we're the most productive when we're at the height of our passion for something. So a lot of these books, including this one, How to Be Everything, a lot of these books on multipassionates, they tell you not to ignore your inner multipotentialite voice telling you to switch things up, to hop to a new interest, to hop to a new project. Now, obviously, if we're talking about like work, where you're trying to do something for money or studying, trying to do something for a grade, you have to do that. I'm mostly talking in terms of like your passion projects, your personal projects, your interests and hobbies, that kind of thing. For multipotentialites, productivity is more about making sure that you're working on the right things rather than just getting things done. So then the problem comes down to choosing what to focus on. First, you have to identify your priority projects. So this can include your work projects, your personal projects, subjects that you're studying, interests that intrigue you, skills that you're learning, activities you enjoy. You also need to recognize some projects that are waiting, those exciting ideas or activities that you have not yet pursued. This is going to be like your master list. Just list down every single thing that you're interested in, that you want to do, the projects you're pursuing, etc. And obviously right now you can't do all of them. The good news is this list will always be here. Those things are not going to go away. You can come back to them later. But now you need to narrow them down to more realistic amount of things that you can handle. So take a look at one of your projects and just ask yourself, does it excite you? Do you have passion for it right now? Will prioritizing it significantly disrupt your life? And could your life use a little bit of this disruption? And once you're able to narrow down your list to a more manageable number, the author suggests even visualizing them on paper, putting them up like on your desk, somewhere where you can see them. And of course, be open to pursuing new interests if they spark excitement. The next big obstacle comes with finding time. Of course, when we're talking about like personal projects and such, it's good to find a time of day when you feel like you're at your best, when your energy levels are high, when your mood is good. Doing something creative should be seen as a practice, something that you do regularly, even if your schedule is busy or inflexible. The author suggests some different scheduling methods to use to manage your time effectively. One of them is the fluid schedule, where you work on your priority projects when you have free time and until you lose steam, and then you can take a break and switch projects. The prepared schedule, which is just like scheduling your day as if you were in school, with focused periods and breaks. The next is to take on a project immersion approach. Just dedicate a specific period, like a month, a week, a weekend, where you're just going to focus on a single project. So the next piece of advice that the author gives is knowing when to quit. So I mentioned before the loathing scale, and this is a really great way to just measure where you're at right now in a particular pursuit. And remember that quitting isn't failure. It just means that you've gained what you've needed right now from a project. Quit when you feel bored, unchallenged, or uninspired. But it's important to differentiate between resistance, which is usually some form of fear or self-doubt or anxiety, and reaching your personal endpoints. So if it is something like just resistance, like maybe you're just lacking confidence in a particular area, or you start thinking like, oh, what will other people think if they know I'm doing this? That's resistance. That's not you being ready to move on to a new thing. And it's definitely worth pushing through. But if you've genuinely reached your end point, you're just tired of it right now, then it's time to move on. Now, this next problem might seem a little bit strange because we are multipotentialites. We are multipassionates. We have so many interests. How could we ever be bored? How could we ever not have something to focus on? But a lot of us have the problem of just getting ourselves to do the work. It's really easy just to distract yourself instead, or to let that resistance kind of control your mind, and you think, maybe I can't do this project right now. I just better play video games instead. You need to just get yourself to do the work, because you know that once you start doing it, you're going to love it. and you're going to keep doing it. So the author advises that you just make sure you're in a positive state before you start work. Techniques like meditation and movement, gratitude journaling, and visualizing, those can help. And then instead of focusing on like the big picture, break it down into small steps. Using something like a timer can help you to manage your work. So if you say, okay, I'm going to do these 3 teeny tiny steps in this project, I'm going to set a timer for 40 minutes. I'm going to see how much I can get done. Most likely at the end of the 40 minutes, you'll want to keep going. It's also a good idea to just set up your environment. So if I know that tomorrow morning I want to sit down and I want to study a language, I am going to prepare my desk to be exactly where I'm going to be when I start studying. I'll set my laptop up. I'm going to open up my Anki Droid app. I'm going to have my notebook right there. I'm going to have everything ready. So as soon as I get up and I sit down in that seat, it's all just ready for me to start studying. This is just a way to get you to do the work. The author suggests use of a small wins journal, which is mostly just a teeny tiny journal where you're just going to write down every little thing that you did that's working towards your personal goals. So if one day you sat down and you worked on a project for even just 30 minutes, you can write that down. If you applied for a new job that you were thinking of, write that down. You're one step closer to your goals. So this is your small wins journal. Now, the next big obstacles that a lot of multipotentialites face is their own internal criticism. We are generalists in a specialist world. So there's going to be times when you're feeling guilt or shame for like frequently changing your mind about things. You might feel discomfort when you're constantly a beginner. You're going to fear that you're not the best in something, that you're not an expert. And you might even have imposter syndrome sometimes. There are ways that you can try to overcome this. You're one step closer to being your best multipotentialite self. So you need to be able to deal with this internal critic. So if you're feeling guilt and shame, just recognize that shifts in interests are part of your personality. Letting go of one interest frees you to pursue the next. And that makes your life so much more interesting. Your identity is not tied to what you do. If you're feeling the discomfort of being a beginner again, understand that being bad at something is a necessary first step to being good at it. Just keep track of your small wins and focus on those, and you'll get there eventually. If you're feeling fear of not being the best, you should focus on being effective more so than being the best. And there's really no need to brand yourself as a specialist because your multifaceted skills are your superpowers. Don't be afraid to use those to your advantage. And last, if you're feeling imposter syndrome, honestly, feeling like a fraud is really common in those pursuing meaningful work. And if you are mindful and aware enough that you feel like, oh, maybe I'm the imposter, that already means you're not. You're not trying to fake it at all. So just focus on your own work and don't worry about what others think of you. But of course, you are going to face external critics, and you just need to have a little bit of strategy for how to deal with those too. Again, you're a multipotentialite. You have your own strengths that are going to be different than a specialist. It's not saying that one is better than the other. They're both unique and strong in their own ways. So there's no use for one trying to be like the other. But still, not everyone's going to understand it. And there's no way that you can make them. So just explain who you are, explain your choices to those who matter. Honestly, just showing confidence is going to reduce the questions and the judgment from others. Okay, and so like I said, if you have the book and you go through this section, you'll see that there's so much more to be said about this advice and these strategies. But I hope I was able to summarize it in a way that's easy to understand and just gives you a good idea for what you need to do to help manage your multipotentialite personality. And so yeah, that's the end. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you got something out of it. I hope you pick up a copy of the book and read it for yourself. And I hope that you share down below your own experiences or maybe your own strategy or advice that worked for you. If there's anything else that you want to see from me or any other books that you've been curious about that you want me to make a video about, please put them down below. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.